How does a house look captured by snakes? Why isn't it worth feeding vultures? Watch this episode. Today, I'll show you surprising cases when animals settled in people's houses. Occupied territory. What do you associate buying a house with? For most people, it's something amazing, very pleasant and memorable, isn't it? Yes, for people in the following story, buying a house in Napa was also very memorable, but not in the way you might think. The family moved into the house and started to slowly settle in. They did everything upstairs and then went down to the basement. If they only knew what would be waiting for them in it. There were dozens of snakes on the metal shelves of the pickle racks, and they were all different sizes and colors. To say that people were shocked doesn't do it justice. The trappers were immediately called to the place. Though not immediately, they still relieved people of this problem. They took all the crawlers to their natural habitat. It's interesting that when this footage was seen by the past homeowner, she was angry to hear about this and added that she had no idea about the snakes. Do you think it's realistic to live in a house and not know you have so many snakes in your basement? Okay, let's leave this situation on the conscience of the past homeowner. After all, maybe she really didn't know anything. Let's take a look at the following video that hit the web from a resident of a house in Malaysia. I'll tell you right away, what you're about to see may shock you. Personally, I really lost my tongue for a couple of seconds at the first viewing of this horror. In general, the situation was as follows. On the eve of Valentine's Day, people found two mating individuals at home. They were doing it in the attic where they wouldn't be noticed. However, suspicious sounds gave them away. The homeowner thought the monkeys had gotten into her attic. According to the woman, this had happened before and she was fine with it. Moreover, the inhabitants of the house didn't even want to do anything about it. There was nothing valuable upstairs, so they thought that the primates would stay there for a while and leave. Next morning, however, the situation became more tense. The daughter noticed a crack in the ceiling. Through it, she could see a long, slippery, and frightening body of a python. Special snake trapping service was immediately called to the scene, and they arrived just in time. At the moment when people wanted to pull out the python, the already shaking ceiling collapsed, and the snake hung against the wall like a liana. Everyone in the house was at a loss for words. No one could even think that the snake could be so large. The rescuers had to break another part of the ceiling to get the python, and they were very surprised to see not one, but two giant reptiles under the roof. When they caught the smaller python, the larger one managed to escape to an abandoned house in the neighborhood, but eventually the intruder was caught. Spider Paradise. For some people, the story of the two pythons will seem extremely scary and frightening. Nothing could be worse. But I'm sure for some people, it'll be this video. It was filmed in Australia in 2021. The video shows spiders crowding the room. Not just any spiders, but baby huntsman spiders. It's believed that they didn't like the rainy and hot weather, so the invaders decided to hide in someone's house. These spiders are scary to look at, but they do not hurt people. Even if they bite, the usual cold compress will perfectly cope with a little pain. Nevertheless, to go and cuddle with these arthropods is not at all desirable, especially given their huge number. How did so many spiders form in one place? And I'm also wondering, without regard for rescue services, is there some simple method of dealing with these arthropods? Is it possible to chase them away personally? If any of you know, post in the comments. Well, we're going to move on because the bees are waiting for us. By the way, do you know how to behave if you meet a bee? They say that you should not wave your hands, run away, and certainly not try to swat at it, but also not climb into the hive if it's nearby. Of course, it's cool to have all these tips in mind. However, sometimes there are situations with no rules of behavior written in the books. It's a case of 1 in a million. An Arizona family found themselves locked out of their home in 2020. Someone didn't let them go out. And no, it was no burglar, no angry bear, no natural disaster. They were trapped by bees, a whole swarm of aggressive creatures. The insects had chosen the family's porch as their home. They quickly set it up, and that's all. they did not let neighbors come in or couriers deliver the order to them. However, people still found a way to solve this problem. At first, they contacted the firm responsible for the condition of the house, and they volunteered to help. Then it became clear the bees were going to be poisoned. This outcome did not suit the residents of the house, even though it was the quickest way to solve the problem. The homeowner felt sorry for the little invaders. They had no idea that they were doing anything wrong. So she found an experienced beekeeper who was happy to visit them and took all the insects with him. In fact, this was an incredibly good decision on the part of the homeowner. Otherwise, most of the bees would have died on the spot if they'd been poisoned with only a couple of individuals left alive. But this is too little in the case of bees. They're collective insects that cannot survive on their own. And what's more, bees even have special rules of life. Each individual is responsible for something different. Some forage for food, others process it, some guard the territory, and others throw out the garbage. It's all very strict and serious. And all this despite the fact that scientists say bees can't talk to each other. Do you know how they signal? By dancing. The dance of bees is quite complex. Despite this, it's more than informative and has long been unraveled by scientists. Also, what personally struck me to the core, bees never die in their hive. They know that in such a case, there's a great chance of bacteria getting on their brethren. In its turn, this will lead to mass extinction of the group. To avoid such unpleasantness, the weakened individuals leave their home and move as far away from it as possible. Vespiary. Yes, and now let's take a look at the house of other nasty insects that are often confused with bees. This is just some crazy wasp nest found in an abandoned house. A man who works for an animal control company said that he's seen a lot of things in his career, but this nest is definitely the biggest one he's ever encountered. Of course, the incident happened in Australia. Where else would an anomaly like this happen, right? There was a hornet's nest in the bathroom. It had clearly grown over the years to resemble some kind of alien monster. Dale, the author of the video, said that it took him and his team several days to remove the nest and destroy all its inhabitants. They numbered in thousands. The specialist warned all homeowners that wasps were quite active and prolific creatures. Therefore, if people notice even a small nest, they should immediately call experts and get rid of their dwelling. Otherwise, before people can even blink an eye, something similar will form in a small house. Speaking of wasps, do you know how they differ from bees? First of all, their diet. Wasps are predators. They usually eat fallen fruit and other insects such as flies and caterpillars. Adults often feed on nectar. Bees, on the other hand, are considered pollinators and prefer pollen along with nectar from different flowers. Pollen is such a powdery substance produced by plants that serves as an essential source of protein and other nutrients for bees. Their second major difference is, of course, behavior. Most wasps hunt other insects and are quite aggressive creatures, ready to sting their opponent several times at once. Bees, on the other hand, are not like that at all. They usually do not attack. They can only sting in self-defense. In general, bees are not in a hurry to sting anyone. The thing is that once they stick their sting into a person, they can't pull it back out. Their skin is too elastic for them. Wasps, on the other hand, can sting as much as they like. The following video comes to us from Florida. Its authors, and at the same time the residents of the house where the video is filmed, decided to complain to the whole world about the fact that they're very much disturbed by vultures. They're not only aggressive, but also defecate everywhere. That's why you can hardly breathe near the house and in the building itself from the disgusting stench. In addition, these birds constantly sort out their relations. Of course, this does not contribute to a calm atmosphere. However, not only this family is unlucky, but also their neighbors, because the vultures have settled there. But don't think that it's all chance and bad luck. As the people from the video later told, they found out the real reason for such behavior, the feathered ones. It turns out that one of the neighbors regularly feeds the birds, so they fly to visit her at the first opportunity or settle somewhere nearby. What's interesting is that the generous old lady cannot be charged anything. She has every right to feed the birds that are protected by the state. The authorities recommended to scare the birds away, but it doesn't work at all. What would you do if you were the owner of the house? Write your options for solving the problem in the comments. Some of you must have thought that the people in the previous story who were prevented from resting by vultures are the unluckiest people in the world. Birds interfere with their lives and they can't do anything. That's the trouble. As if it weren't. The real trouble is when a gang of bears rolls onto a property and starts walking around like it's their native ground. This situation happened in New Jersey. As the author of the video suggested, a female bear and 5 cubs were fleeing from the heat and accidentally wandered into a people's yard. They saw the pool and could not resist this temptation. The owners were at home at that moment and prudently did not go out into the yard, but instead filmed the fun of the bear family on video. On the recording, you can hear the voice of a little girl saying, "Mommy, I'm scared," to which the woman replies, "Don't be scared, baby. The bears are having a lot of fun." The only thing that worries me in this story is that these pin-toed creatures can easily return here after some time, wishing to repeat their vacation. Should we start washing or call a specialist? This is probably what the girl in this story was thinking when she first discovered a group of ants in her house, or rather in her washing machine. The Australian resident was just planning to do laundry she does weekly, but at the last minute she discovered something strange. Look at the number informing you how many hours the laundry will go on. Don't you notice anything strange? That's right, there's obviously someone inside. After realizing this, the girl looked into the drum, and what she saw there literally shocked her. Her washing machine had been invaded by ants. What's more, they multiplied in enormous numbers. The desperate woman turned for advice to users of the web, and quite a few people advised her to pour a special ant deterrent and start the washing mode. You may have to do it several times at once, although on the other hand, maybe there is an option with a peaceful solution to the issue. After all, ants are living creatures just like us. Secret entrance. And this video reminded me of one of the first parts of Harry Potter when Owls tried to deliver a letter to the main character and his uncle and aunt did everything to prevent it from happening. Also here, the feathered ones found some kind of secret entrance and infiltrated an apartment building. It happened in Western California, and as the homeowner says, he didn't realize what was going on at all. The birds acted like they wanted to fly away, but for some reason they stayed inside. What's more, they came back here again. As soon as people noticed how the birds circulated between the sky and their home, they waited a moment and deliberately sealed the pipe. Keeping it closed forever is no solution, of course, but maybe a couple weeks will be enough to wean the birds off flying here. You think this plan will work? Again, everything is comparative. To some, a bird invasion may seem like the peak of trouble, but what do you say after watching the following clip? A giant alligator crawled into a people's house and scared them as much as possible. Lucky that the reptile at least was not too aggressive towards people and did not start to make a fuss there. It calmly waited for the arrival of rescuers and left the house together with them. According to the authors of the video, the animal was taken back to its natural environment. Speaking of alligators, did you know that they cannot survive in salt water? Also, that their sex is directly related to the temperature in which they grow. If the creature develops in warmth, a male will be born, and if it's cold, it will naturally be a female. Mother alligators lay eggs on the ground. When the eggs are ready to hatch, baby alligators use a special tooth to break the eggshell and see the light. Apparently, they like this very light so much that their eyes begin to glow from birth and do not go out even in the dark. Often people walk near alligators, and this very effect helps to avoid contact with them. However easy it may be to spot an alligator, I'd prefer a seal as a guest. One like the one in this video. This little guy broke into a people's home in New Zealand in 2021. From the first seconds, he won over all the residents with his cuteness. Tenderness combined with chutzpah. No matter how harmless the creature might look, it was confident and calmly walked around the territory, making itself at home. That's about it. Write in the comments what case surprised you most of all. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel.